Tales of Pain, Hygiene in Colonial America. The colonial era in America shaped the nation in ways we still feel today. Politics, religion, culture, even cuisine. But there's one side of daily life we don't often think about. Aside that, quite literally, stinks. Hygiene. Imagine the crowded settlements of the 1600s and 1700s. Wooden houses, thatched roofs, unpaved streets filled with mud, manure, and garbage. Now add in swarms of mosquitoes, lice in your bedding, and the occasional rat skittering across the floorboards. Life in colonial America wasn't just hard, it was messy, itchy, and often downright foul. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into what hygiene was really like in colonial America. The good, the bad, and the very, very smelly. Bugs, vermin, and the everyday battle captain John Smith, one of Jamestown's founders, left behind detailed writings about life in early Virginia. He didn't just talk about politics or survival. He wrote about the pests, ants, mosquitoes, flies, and a creepy little creature called the cacarooch, an early colonial name for cockroaches. And Smith wasn't alone. A young George Washington, during his surveying trips in the Shenandoah Valley, complained bitterly about sleeping in a cabin filled with fleas and lice. It was so miserable that Washington often preferred to sleep outside by a campfire, even if that meant enduring the cold night air. Missionaries also recorded suffering. George Henry Loskiel described a plague of biting insects so painful that Native Americans called them living ashes. Their sting, like being burned by hot coals. Simply existing meant fighting a daily war against vermin. No amount of scratching or shaking out blankets could truly get rid of them. Bathing? Rarely. When we think of hygiene today, we think of showers, baths, and soap. But in the 17th and 18th centuries, the idea of a regular full-body bath was almost unheard of. Infants were sometimes bathed in the belief it made them tougher against disease. But adults? Not so much. Most people washed rather than bathed. In the morning, they might splash their face and hands with cold water from a basin. A sponge or cloth was used, but soap was rare and, for many, unavailable. For the wealthy, a bathtub might allow a sponge bath, though often still without soap. For everyone else, the occasional dip in a river or pond on a hot day was as close to a bath as they'd get. To our modern noses, that meant layers of sweat, dirt, and smoke from fireplaces lingering on skin and clothing. Colonial America probably smelled more pungent than picturesque. The problem with outhouses' indoor plumbing was centuries away. Instead, colonists relied on outhouses or simply dug holes in the ground. Chamber pots sat in bedrooms, emptied in the morning. The disposal method? Tossing the contents out a window or into a nearby ditch. This waste often seeped into drinking water. Wells, streams, and rivers could quickly become contaminated, spreading deadly diseases like dysentery, cholera, and typhoid. Archaeologists even discovered colonial privy pits filled not only with waste, but with discarded possessions, bottles, wig curlers, broken pottery, and even tanning tools. These privy shafts became accidental time capsules, preserving glimpses of everyday colonial life, layered beneath centuries of filth. Disease and dirt sanitation was practically non-existent. Streets filled with garbage and animal droppings. In hot summers, disease spread rapidly. During the Revolutionary War, 2/3 of Washington's troops at Valley Forge died, not from bullets, but from disease. Dysentery, influenza, typhoid. Ironically, poor sanitation sometimes worked to America's advantage. In the South, British soldiers fell victim to the same fevers, weakening the enemy as much as any musket volley. Religion and cleanliness. Even scientists didn't fully understand germs. Some doctors saw cleanliness as healthy, while others believed natural oils on the skin prevented illness. In the absence of science, people turned to religion. The Puritans, for example, saw cleanliness as a spiritual duty. To them, a clean body meant a clean soul. Washing wasn't just about health, it was about morality. But public bathing was frowned upon. Too much nakedness, too much temptation. Instead, bathing remained private, guarded, and infrequent. Teeth and pain. If you've ever dreaded the dentist, count yourself lucky you didn't live in colonial America. Toothaches were common and remedies were crude. Herbs, alcohol, and even opium were used for pain. If a tooth had to come out, you didn't see a dentist. You went to a barber, a blacksmith, or anyone with a strong grip and a pair of pliers. False teeth were made from wood, ivory, or even the teeth of other people. The poor often sold their teeth to the wealthy. George Washington famously wore dentures, not wooden ones as the myth claims, but plates of metal and animal teeth held together with wires. They were painful, distorted his face, and made him self-conscious for life. Wigs, lice, and style. Lice plagued not only homes and bedding, but hair. The solution: shave your head and wear a wig. Powdered wigs became the fashion of the wealthy. Men and women alike wore them, perfumed with bergamot, sassafras, and bay leaves in hopes of repelling insects. Wig maintenance was expensive, involving boiling and fumigation to kill lice. And, ironically, the pomades used to style wigs often attracted more pests. Colonial fashion was impressive to the eye, but beneath the curls and powder, it was itchy and uncomfortable. Soap, laundry, and labor-imported soap from Europe was a luxury. Most colonists used homemade lye soap, a harsh, foul-smelling mix of ash, water, and animal fat. It was so caustic, it was mainly used for scrubbing clothes and dishes, not skin. Laundry itself was grueling, hauling water, heating it over fire, scrubbing, wringing, hanging to dry. Because it was so exhausting, only the dirtiest items, like undergarments, were washed often. Outer clothes, they could go weeks, even months without a proper cleaning. Women, cleanliness, and misconceptions. Women faced particular scrutiny. Thomas Jefferson once warned his daughter that nothing is so disgusting to our sex as a want of cleanliness in yours. Doctors even claimed women's bodies could deliberately emit foul smells to repel men. An absurd theory that shows just how misunderstood female hygiene was. Some women tried depilatory creams for hair removal, but these recipes often contained toxic ingredients like arsenic or lime. True shaving wouldn't become common until the 20th century. Washington's army and the struggle for cleanliness. George Washington, despite his own dental struggles, understood that cleanliness mattered. During the Revolution, he ordered his soldiers to wash their faces and hands daily, and their shirts weekly. But compliance was rare. Soldiers would rather let clothes rot on their backs than wash them. Enter the unsung heroes of the war, camp followers. These women, men, and even children cooked, washed, and tended to the army. Without them, disease would have wiped out Washington's forces entirely. Closing thoughts. Colonial America is often remembered for its ideals of liberty and independence, but behind the declarations and battles was a harsher reality. Lice, filth, disease, and the constant stench of survival. It's a reminder that history isn't always glamorous. Sometimes it stinks, literally. So would you have survived colonial America's hygiene? Or would you have waved the white flag after one night in a bug-infested bed?